Recording.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Walk and Love podcast. I am TJ.
And I'm pregnant.
What?
Wait,
and today we're going to answer your questions about Sabbath. That's right. You heard it here first. Podcast family gets the news before anybody else, as long as you listen.
Update.
Extra, read all about it. Newspapers for sale.
About babies.
Yes, Brooke is pregnant.
Hence the feeling terrible for weeks on end.
Yes, she's not felt great. There's been
I was in the bathroom vomiting and vomiting.
So that's what our life has been a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, pregnant in the 12-week region.
Well, yeah, I don't really know. Something like that.
And so we wanted you podcast listeners to be the first to know. If you listen later in the week, you might have already found out some other way.
Yeah.
On Instagram or text or something. But if you listen on Monday or Tuesday, you're definitely the first to know. So mum's the word until we get it out to the
I know what that means, but I don't really get it.
Is the word.
No, it's mum, which is like super British.
Mum. Yeah,
so like if you were asked
I don't know.
something,
I honestly don't know what it means.
you're just supposed to say that.
It's like DMD. It's like the metric system. No one knows.
No one knows.
And I don't think anyone cares. So
Except maybe mum.
Yeah. How you doing, Governor? So, we're so thankful for our podcast listeners and that you guys spend a couple hours, an hour-ish a week with us. So we really wanted you to be the first to know. We're having another baby, which is incredible. Brooke has not been feeling well, which has not been incredible. Probably the sickest she's been with the pregnancies.
Yeah.
So prayers are appreciated for that, and they're appreciated for her voice, because anytime the hormones of pregnancy come into play, there may be another voice issue on the rise. So we're praying that doesn't happen. We were real nervous early on because it was sounding kind of rough. But we think that was because
I was in the bathroom vomiting and vomiting.
So, but I don't know if you guys noticed the snacks on the podcast table. That is also to try to
keep me from
ease the nausea.
Curling right over here.
If Brooke barfs on a podcast, I don't think we'll upload it.
Right.
I just want that to be just known.
Yeah.
We're going to just let it be. So super exciting. We're very, very excited. Yeah. Anything to add, babe?
No, I'm going to try not to talk unless I have to.
So Brooke is not feeling well today. As she said, and I quote, "This is the worst I've ever felt," while we're about to record a podcast. So I might carry the load. I don't know if you guys have even noticed that I've been talking way more every episode. But that's just how it's been. You may have noticed that Brooke hasn't been in a single photo recently because most of the time I won't use the sound clip again. But it's been good. Like, it's been rough for you, but we have managed as a family. And I would say a big part of that is because of our family rhythm. Like, we know where we land in the week during the week. And so we're able to adjust and not like kind of, scratch and claw to survive kind of thing. So the big thing is, like, if you could pray for us, pray for Brooke, that the baby's healthy, that she stays healthy, that we just have like a nice pregnancy. And then, when I think about strangers on the internet that I've never met praying for my family, it'll get me emotional. So I'm not going to go there. But I kind of already did. But while you're praying for Brooke and I, with the baby, we just feel like God is stirring something inside of us recently. Can't put a finger on what it is exactly. But prayer for our family, for clarity, is really kind of the call of the call that we're making on the Lord. Like, we need clarity. What are you stirring inside of us? And what does that look like? So clarity would be great. So thank you for that. Thank you. And because we did segments last week, we did all the segments. We're not going to do any this week because we have a ton of questions to get through. And we are going to spend a lot of the time going through our rhythm, because so many of the questions were like, where does this go? What does this do? And then some of the questions were like, can you go through your weekly rhythm? And before we do that, I just want like a big disclaimer on this episode. Like, we are by no means experts on taking Sabbath and having a weekly rhythm. We are actually relatively novice at this. And so you might be thinking, well, why are you giving advice if you're novice at it? I do think that it's helpful when people are in the midst of a journey to try to explain that journey. I think it, like, not like I love listening to experts on these things. Like, that's why I'm part of an integrated group. Like, those guys have been doing it for, Jeremy's been doing this for, I don't know, 20 years. And that's super helpful. But sometimes when you hear someone talk like that, you're like, well, how do I even begin? And so, and that's really one of the main questions. And so I think when you hear people who are just going through it and you're walking through it with them, there's like, there's an extra added element of encouragement and grace in that like, oh, they're new to this. They're a year in on this and they're where they are. So like, I feel like that's an encouragement, at least to me, maybe just to my personality, that like, oh, now if I step in a year from now, maybe I could be kind of where they are now. And so like, rather than being like, oh, I don't know if I could learn the piano by next year, but in 20 years, maybe I could, like, so
totally.
But we're by no means experts. And one of the best resources that we push people to all the time, it has nothing to do with us. Like, we don't make any money off of it. Well, that's not totally true. If you buy a family calendar, we make money off of that.
Yeah.
Because we get royalties from that.
Yeah.
So that's not entirely true. But it's the 7-day family e-course from Family Teams, which we now have a discount code for. So the discount code is Walk in Love. That'll get you 20% off.
We should have asked for Wonton Killer.
We should have.
To be our discount code.
But they just went with Walk in Love.
Confusing.
Yeah. So we'll link that in the show notes. It's like $79. I don't know what 20% off that would be. No one knows. Math is hard. But that is a great resource to start with. Like, that'll have more wisdom and input than we do. But here we are, still going to tell you what we think. And so a brief history before we get into the rhythm is just like, I was introduced to the 7-day rhythm by Jeremy Pryor and Jeff Bethke when I joined this group, Integrated. It was kind of like, it's kind of one of those moments where you're sitting and listening to someone talk, and we've kind of maybe have experienced this in church or, just like on YouTube or something like that, where you're like, whoa, this will change everything.
Like, hold up, I'm actually listening now.
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, I need to go to there.
Yeah.
Like, hearing someone talk about this, like hearing Jeremy talk about like how the months and the year are all sort of like due to the way the world works. The earth spins around the sun, the moon, etc. Like, those are all time frames based on occurrences.
Yeah.
Natural occurrences in the earth.
Right.
God created those, but like, they're still based on those things. And then the 7-day week is not based on anything like that. And it's funny when you go to the internet, like, where does the 7-day week come from? They're like, oh, the earliest thing is the Babylonians. And I'm like, hello, ever heard of creation?
Yeah.
Google?
Yeah.
No, you haven't. And so God created the earth in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. By the 7th day, this is from Genesis 2:2-3. By the 7th day, God had finished the work he had done. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. And so like, you get a blueprint. Work 6 days, rest 1 day. Like, that is created by God. And so like, I don't know about you, but anything that's created by God, I want to go to there. Like,
I'm interested.
Yeah, exactly. And so Jeremy has, like, when he talks about this, he talks about like how like the Egyptians tried a 10-day week, Napoleon tried a 5-day week, productivity went way down, craziness went way up. And so like, there's something in tune with our spirits and the way that our body operates, that 7 days is natural. It is almost like God created it that way.
What?
Hello. And so the 7-day rhythm, living rhythmically, is kind of it's just kind of a part of us. And so why not step into that fully? And one thing that Jeremy says is like, you try to live every day the same, you will go crazy. You try to live every day differently, you will go crazy. And so there is part of us that wants this natural rhythm, and we do it, like, we have it with seasons. It's built into our society in a lot of ways naturally.
Yeah.
School year, like that kind of stuff. And so like, but we try to ignore it on like on a smaller scale. You know what I mean? And so
yeah, one of my favorite things. I wish I had a marker. Can you reach that marker?
Yeah, that's like a regular. You keep talking, babe.
Or a pen. Don't go in front of the camera. Oh, it's gonna be out of focus. Is that idea that, like, especially in American culture, we live the, like, what did they call it? Like, bucket list life. Like,
Right,
that's
yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this.
Okay, but we'll try.
Dark.
You can describe it.
Okay. So here is the arrow. Sorry, everybody listening. Hold on.
Listening, Brooke is drawing a picture. I'll describe
I
it in
don't know if you'll be
detail.
able to see it.
She drew an arrow with
See the
a straight arrow across the tape.
It's just going forward.
Going forward,
And that's
yes.
how so many of us
Live.
live. Like, oh, there's a little blip, we get married. There's a little blip, we have kids. There's a little blip, but like everything is just
Yeah. Forward.
straightforward. And so the idea of the rhythm is that you're going to go swirly motion like this.
Right.
So you're still moving forward. Maybe we could have a better drawing in the notes. But this is that was so helpful for me.
Yeah,
Just
that was
to be
from
like-
To Hell with the Hustle by Becky.
Yeah, just like, okay, so I'm not just living in a circle.
By J Bones. Sometimes I call Jeff Bethke J Bones. He doesn't know that yet, but that's I'll text him.
I think I like that. Just change that in your phone.
You know that Jeff is texting you when the text starts with bro
Oh,
and a bunch of exclamation points.
Yeah.
That's when you know you got a text from J Bones.
okay. So this is what
Yes.
most of us live.
Straightforward. Everything is on a line. Everything's linear. It's like goal based,
Yeah.
activity based, timeline based, and
Right.
and rhythmically you have these swirls in, so you understand where you are in the rhythm while moving forward, and it gives you like an aspect of like content, joy, peace, because you know where you are
Yeah.
consistently. And one thing that Jeremy said recently in the last integrated was the rhythm is a gift from God. And so like most gifts, and we talked about this about Sabbath, is like, I want to unwrap it and I want to use it. And so there will be sacrifices while using it and things like that. And that it's created for us to thrive, not to maximize. And Western culture specifically is really created to maximize. We need to maximize our time. We need to
that's
maximize
that
our effort.
straightforward
Like
arrow,
we need
just
to schedule. Let's do it. And I'm not saying we don't have a schedule, and I'm not saying that we don't like have appointments and goals and things like that. But like we want our lives on earth to thrive, not to just maximize.
Yes.
And the one thing that the rhythm has done more than anything, I think for us, is like it has bonded our family tighter and more. We're more on a team, which is another whole thing with their family teams. We won't get into that as much today. But the rhythm, the rhythm will make your family a team and make you closer than ever. And for that, it is worth all the sacrifice that it will take to maintain.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the history of where we were brought in. It was last February 2020. I came home and I'm like, Brooke, things are about to change. This was mind blowing.
Well, yeah. And the crazy thing is we were already attempting to live that way, but we didn't know it.
We didn't have the language around it, and we didn't have sort of like the vibe of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But we had, do you
Yeah,
know this?
and we had created the family team.
We had made our calendar
We made our calendar
to not feel crazy.
to not feel crazy at home, and basically we created the perfect tool for a family rhythm, for a 7-day rhythm, without having the language around it. And so to me, that's like a picture of like there's something intuitive in us that desires this.
Yes.
And we, and Brooke and I are like quick starts, and we like to do things, and so like we created that tool that showed, hey, we need this at home. And then I went to Austin, and they're like, here's what it is. And I'm like, my mind is exploding. And so the family planning calendar, like that tool, we sold it to family teams. So they now sell it. We get royalties. It's a great deal for us. And it's getting into way more people's hands than we would ever be able to. And so it's awesome. I feel like we're now just unlocking that tool's full potential.
Yeah.
As we've developed our healthy rhythm.
Yeah.
And so 2020 in Austin, that kind of changed everything. And so far over this last year, we've been living rhythmically, and we've made about 200,000 adjustments to our rhythm. Like it is not something that is perfect from the beginning. And so let me encourage you that as we start and we talk about this, you are hearing an iteration that we've worked on.
Yeah.
And that we've developed and that we have made changes to, and that we will still make changes to. This is by no means perfect. And I think living rhythmically changes through seasons and changes through like the age of your kids and maybe your job and all these things. And so don't feel, because I can feel this way when I hear experts talk about what they're good at. I can feel like, oh, well, I'll never be good at that. You know, like I feel that in a very like imposter syndrome or whatever. And so like, please hear me when I say like Brooke and I are new at this. We've made it a priority for sure. Like we've definitely made it a priority in our lives, and it has changed our lives for the better. And I think when we unwrap gifts that God has given us, it will change our lives for the better. And so I think unwrapping the gift of a rhythm, I think unwrapping the gift of Sabbath, you know, I think unwrapping the gift of giving, like there are other things that we do, unwrapping the gift of praise and worship and prayer and fasting, like all those things are gifts that God has given us. And when we unwrap them and put them into our lives, it allows our spirit and our soul to flourish in ways that we would have never been able to just living the way culture lives.
Yeah. And in the e-course, if you choose to take it, they, is Jeremy's wife's name April?
April.
I always panic that it's not.
That's funny. I do the same thing.
I'm like, I don't even know that many Aprils. It shouldn't be that hard to remember.
And I've met her, and I know her name's April.
Right, but I'm still like, oh my gosh.
Is it Swami? Samsonite. I knew it started with an S though.
She walks you through how to, how to build your rhythm in different seasons.
Yeah.
Because they were building it back when they had toddlers.
Yeah.
And then when they had elementary, and then somewhere in high school, and like how she talks about how frequently she would just like rework it, and she would sit down and her system for doing that, and how to like build things into your rhythm that you want and desire, and then how to build things into your rhythm like you just have to do.
Yeah.
Grocery, maybe a sports practice or something that's like you're already committed to. And that was a really helpful way to realize, oh wow, it does change pretty frequently, but what you're attempting to unlock as a family stays the same.
Yeah. And there are some things that through it all never change. And that's the goal. Like that there are these like sort of pivotal moments in it, anchors that really kind of hold your family together. And again, this is all in that 7-day Rhythm e-course. Use the code Walk in Love. You'll get a 20% discount. We'll link it all in the show notes, etc. So we had a ton of questions, like really probably the most questions that we've ever had for a question and answer podcast. And the most like good questions, like, cause sometimes you'll get like, you know, would you rather have 2 left hands or 2 left feet? You know, and you're like, well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Sorry. I don't know. But these were like actual questions that I think like people like, I get the vibe when we talk about this stuff that like people have a longing for it. I especially feel that vibe from moms, young moms of young kids. I feel that I can feel sort of the tension even in the question, and sort of this longing. And I think that all of us have this longing, whether we can name it or not. And so because we got so many questions, I thought the best place to start would be our weekly rhythm, our current iteration of our weekly rhythm, because that answers some of the questions that were asked. And then after that, we'll go into more of I have the big 3 questions, like the 3 top that kind of were throughout. And then we'll go into like more specific questions. And I think through all this, we might repeat ourselves a little bit. We might go back to explaining our rhythm, etc. But our goal for this is not to brag about how we have it figured out, because we don't. Yeah. But our goal is to inspire you to step into this gift that God has given you and to unlock more love and joy and peace and patience, like more of everything that God has for you. Yeah. So know that as we answer these questions, that like this is to hopefully encourage and inspire you to kind of go after this, because it's worth it. And we have a year under our belts to know that it's like, it is worth it in every way. And even just more specifically now, like Brooke has felt terrible, you know? And so, but like, it hasn't thrown our family off course. Like it hasn't caused division or frustration, or like we have been able, and I kind of use this analogy, like with the rhythm, your family, like imagine the giant claw machine going over your family, and it like plucks your family out of where you are and moves you and drops you somewhere else. I think with the rhythm, that movement is easy, like easier. And I tell Brooke that all the time, like our family and the dynamic of our family and the health of our family is so much better because of this, that I feel like if something drastic would happen, I think we would, you know, it would be hard, but I think we would be able to make it through easier than we would have 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And so that's really encouraging, and I encourage you to take those steps. So I'm going to start our rhythm in kind of a weird place. I think people would expect us to start it on Monday or Sunday, but I'm going to start on Friday night, because this is my first encouragement. Start with Sabbath. Start with a dinner that enters into Sabbath. The family team's world calls this Shabbat. And it can be as liturgious as you want it. That's a word, right? Liturgical as you want it. It can be as orthodox as you want it, or it can be laid back as you want it. And they kind of go through that. Ours is sort of more on the laid back side. I do want to add more elements to it as our kids age, but right now it's like, this is what it is, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So our Sabbath starts with a Friday night dinner called family dinner. And so now I'm just going to kind of go through our rhythm, and just encourage you to just, listen, and then we'll get to the questions. So we eat dinner almost every night as a family. It's not like we only eat dinner together as Friday night, but the Friday night dinner has been named. And it has value and it has importance, and there's so much value in naming things, specifically for your kids. Like, our kids know when family dinner is, they know what to expect. They get hyped about it. We use a tablecloth for that dinner, which seems silly, but that's the only dinner that we usually use a tablecloth for. So like, it already sets the table, pun intended. And the kids, when they see that tablecloth, they know it's family dinner. Some of the guys in the group do candles. We plan to add that as well. We say a special prayer for dinner. We hold hands, and we say we are a family that loves Jesus, chooses joy, and walks in love. That is our Friday night family declaration prayer. And so, like, we are giving our kids an identity into the family on that night every week. Whether sometimes they want to say it with us, sometimes they might be in a bad mood, they might be just too hungry and they're ready to roll. We still do it. And then we pray for our food, and then we eat. And family dinner, sometimes homemade. Most of the time it's takeout. And that's really like the only night of the week that we do like Chinese takeout food, wonton killer style. And so that's really all there is to it, honestly. Usually during that dinner, we will spend a little bit of time trying to ask each person in the family to tell someone else in the family what they loved about them this week, what they were proud of them this week, something that they did this week, like just some sort of like words of affirmation and encouragement to who they are. We'll usually go around the table, and I'll say something about Brooke, something about June, something about Sunny, because June wants us to go in age order. And then we always end with saying something about ourselves. So we have our girls do this as well. Sunny is 3, so she says the same things every time. That didn't happen this week, but she just says what she's thinking. And so like, that was actually one of the questions, like, or this was actually a comment on YouTube this week. Like, we do highlights of the day. My kid says the same thing every time. And so does ours. Like, don't be discouraged by that. Like, be encouraged that your kid has an answer and that they know what that sort of means, and they will develop that as they go. And then we end the meal with dessert, and we don't do a lot of dessert in our house after dinner. And so ice cream sundaes is usually where it's at. And like, that gets the kids hyped. You want kids hyped about a meal, do something special in that meal. And it doesn't even have to be something fancy. Like,
no, just buy sprinkles.
Buy chocolate sauce, whipped cream. Like, we do it all, and we only do it on family dinner. And so like it's set aside, it's set apart. And so they look forward to it. And then after family dinner, this has been new in the last month, 2 months. We do, it depends on how scuzzy our kids are. It can go 2 ways. So if they're really kind of grimy and gross, Brooke will go give them a bath real quick, like a super fast bath. And during that time, I'll try to clean up some of dinner. If they're clean, we go straight from dinner to a family movie. So we set up our nuggets, the couches against the couch, and make it what we call mega couch. June helps with that. We leave all the food on, like, we leave our dinner on the table. Like, we don't clean up if we go straight to the movie. We don't have a television in our living room, so I bring the TV up from the basement. Again, something different, something unique, something set apart that makes it special. And we do a family movie, and we pick. So like, it goes in order because age order. I pick the next week. Mom picks the next week. June picks the next week. Sunny picks, and we watch a family movie. And sometimes there's an alteration to this. If it gets warm, when it gets warm and Aslan returns, sometimes the movie shifts from a movie to a fire.
Yeah.
And we go outside and we play and we do a fire and s'mores and stuff like that. So it kind of depends, but like those are kind of the two options.
Based on the seasons.
Basically we do a family bonding night.
Yeah.
We do something together as a family, and it matters. And we cuddle on the couch and we sometimes eat popcorn and we eat candy, and like, it's just fun. And it's just, we're together building our family team.
Yeah.
And then after that, we put the kids to bed and then we clean up after dinner because we don't want food just laying out all night. But that actually, for me, there's a hard moment there where like, I love cleaning up after dinner.
Yeah.
And there's a hard moment for me to like set that aside and accept this gift of rest and family and just be able to go straight from dinner to the couch and relax. Normally I fall asleep during the family movie. Like I am so relaxed and it's so peaceful to me to like feel the warmth of your kid cuddling up against you that like I doze off. And like that doesn't happen a lot during the week. So we put the kids to bed, and usually like in the evening, after the kids are bed, Brooke and I will watch a movie, we'll watch a show, we'll do something just the two of us. Lately, Brooke has been going, our rhythm is we put the kids to bed. Sometimes Brooke's involved in that, depending on the gag level. And then I put Brooke to bed at 8:00 and I'm like, good night, honey. I'll see you in the morning. And then I usually just go and play some video games or watch something. So that's been lately, but normally Brooke and I spend a little bit of time together after the kids are in bed. Saturday is our official Sabbath. So our Sabbath starts Friday at dinner and goes till Saturday at dinner. So Saturday in the morning is a slow roll out of bed. We have no expectations, no pressing agenda. It's usually like coffee in the living room while the kids play and jump around on the nuggets. Sometimes we'll leave the TV up there and we'll let them do a movie in the morning. Like it really is super laid back. We're just together as a family. Lately, it has been a drive to get duck donuts.
Yeah.
And the kids don't even get out of their PJs. And so like that is a thing. And then we park in the parking lot, get the donuts. They want to get out of their car seats and then they eat in the back seat. Like, again, it's just these little things. But for a kid, I think intuitively they understand the rhythm better than adults do, because I think kids are just more of a pure creation of who God has intended us to be.
Yeah.
That they just like, they light up. They love it. Like they get the same donut. They want the same donut every time. They sit in their back seat. They eat it. Like that's just part of it. And so it's just a joy for us as parents to be there. And like, is it super restful to watch a kid eat a chocolate sprinkled donut in the back seat of your car? Not necessarily, but we try to allow that to be restful and try to accept that gift. And then Saturday, like some of the guys in the integrated group, like schedule their Sabbath, not like to the T, but they have like in the morning we do this, in the afternoon we kind of do this. And Brooke and I sort of do that, but not to that degree.
I think as kids are older,
we probably will.
That will be easier.
And sometimes, basically like the main rules for us on Sabbath are no social media, and no email, no news, basically no work. And we'll break that rule during a release because we only do that 4 times a year. So like, we'll work a little bit. But for us, it's really just like a day of no expectation. So like if you make lunch, you don't have to clean your plate up. Like it's kind of that day. Like you can if you want to, but you don't have to. It's a day where you don't work, you can relax, you can rest, you can take a nap, you can do something with the kids. Like it's a day, but it's a day we're together.
It's a day of rest, especially. I don't want to just say as a mindset because you are actually resting, but like it's not a day where we do nothing.
Right.
It's not a lazy day.
Right.
Because that's what I think some people hear, like, oh, I have to lay on the couch and not move.
Right.
Just like,
or like read my Bible for 6 hours.
And
like
I'm just like, no. Sometimes the activities of my Sabbath don't look a ton different than other days, other than I'm not on my phone, I'm not working, or I'm not thinking I should be working.
Yeah. It's a day where you're accepting that gift of rest, and you're just kind of open arms to it for us. yeah, and we've got some more specific questions about like how does that look? You know, like one thing that we'll do, like, and sometimes it changes seasonally. Like in the summer, my sister has a pool, super restful for us to go to that pool, and so like we usually end up at her pool almost every Saturday. And again, it's just like time together as a family. Normally during the day, at least at some point, Brooke and I give and receive alone time. Like she's allowed to go. Like we don't just stay home all day either. Like sometimes we go places. But she'll usually spend her alone time, like driving to get coffee, driving to like peruse the shelves at Target that she usually doesn't get time to do while shopping with kids. I'll usually spend my time taking a nap, playing a video game, watching a movie, reading. Again, it's just like this idea that like I'm just going to rest. However, I see, like last week I raked the yard. I was like, I just want to be outside. It was warm finally. And it was super restful for me to just be out there with my headphones in, raking the yard. And then our Sabbath ends after dinner on Saturday into Saturday night. Like really it's once the kids are in bed. Like we don't usually get back on social or do any work stuff until after the kids are in bed. So like we'll eat dinner together as a family. Sometimes it's like super laid back, like easy pizza, hot dogs, like something super chill. Usually in the summertime, it ends with a fire again. But right now it's like, it's just a chill dinner. And then we clean up right after dinner. We kind of go through the normal bedtime routine. And then once the kids are in bed, that's when Brooke and I will like sometimes get back on our phones, not all the time. It kind of depends. And so that's our Sabbath. If you would have told me that was my day 2 years ago, I'd been like, that sounds kind of boring. But there is something so restful about it. And actually what's interesting is like this last Sabbath, Brooke felt discontent. And to me, it was this huge sign. And that's what we were asking prayer for, is like, okay, there's something going on here. Like we need clarity. Like if that's happening on a Sabbath, that's God speaking to us. And that was really cool to kind of experience that for the first time. Like, wow, this day has naturally a spiritual element to it by default. And we were able to kind of like communicate based on that, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And so we do on Saturday. That was one of the big questions. Why Saturday instead of Sunday? It just works better for our schedule. Like we just enjoy it more.
Yeah.
We have the space to do it. And we always say that like getting to church on Sunday, even like historically for me when I was a kid, like it's not a restful thing. It's not a peaceful thing. Not that it's like chaotic, last helicopter out of Vietnam style, but it's just like, it's not this peaceful sort of like slow roll in the morning. Like I still have my PJs on, by noon type thing. So Sunday we usually go to church. Lately we haven't been because Brooke can't handle the car ride because of the...
I was in the bathroom vomiting.
So church is normally what we do on Sunday mornings. Lately we've just been kind of listening to worship music, having kind of another slow morning for Brooke's sake. And then lunch after church. And then Sunday afternoon is like an on-ramp for the week. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yes.
It is we're not on the highway of the week, but we're speeding up to get there. And so that looks different in a lot of different ways. Normally Sunday afternoons are spent like getting the calendar filled out for the week, grocery shopping / grocery ordering, depending on what we're doing that week, meal prep planning, etc. It's like sort of like the stuff to set up ourselves for a good week. If June has anything that she needs to do for school, we usually start doing it on that Sunday afternoon. We're just getting ready to have a good week. The last 2 weeks we've missed this, but we try to end after we eat dinner on Sunday as a family. We try to have a family meeting, 5 minutes max. Maybe we get to 5 minutes where I read over the calendar, kind of explain to our team what's going on, what to expect, who we're praying for, what we're grateful for, etc. Like super quick. We have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. June is there. Like I could extend it for June's sake, but Sunny then gets too distracting. And so now we're headed into the normal week. So that's a lot of time just for Friday to Sunday, but like that's a big part of our week. Like that really matters.
Yeah.
So our normal Monday looks like we wake up, suddenly we find ourselves awake, and June has school. So we take her to school. I try to work out between the time for I drive June to school every day, every time she goes. I try to work out between the window of time between taking June and taking Sunny. Someone's phone's ringing.
Phone's ringing.
And then
unknown caller. Should I answer on the podcast?
for sure. And then June, and then Sunny goes to Brooke's parents for Monday, and then we will. That's a work day for us.
Yeah.
We call it Manager Monday, so it's like catching up on emails that we may have, like doing some bookkeeping, all that kind of like just managers.
Typing. Lots of typing.
Lots of typing, lots of clicking, click, click, click. And
click, click, click. Man, I can't believe you don't know how Netflix works.
And then June gets home from school around 3. Usually at that time, we like let her kind of just chill because Sunny doesn't get home till 4. So she has that hour kind of to herself.
Sometimes she's in her room.
Sometimes she plays.
She's outside.
Sometimes she watches a show. Like she just kind of chills. And then when when Sunny comes home, I usually play with the girls while Brooke gets dinner ready.
Yeah.
I can do a lot of things, but preparing meals is at the very bottom of the list. I can do it.
You're not terrible. It's just
find no joy in it. So we do dinner together. Again, weather really kind of affects this part of the rhythm. Sometimes we'll go outside after dinner. When Aslan returns, we'll do that. But for the most time, we just like play inside. This is usually like after dinner, I'll clean up from dinner while Brooke gets the kids clean, like with the bath and stuff. And then there's usually like this glorious hour before bedtime where the kids either play super well together because they know bedtime's coming.
Yeah.
And they know that like if they're playing well together, they won't have to go to bed. Or sometimes they'll do a little bit of screen time during that time. And this is usually when Brooke and I read. So we are not early morning 5 a.m. or devotion time with the Lord. Like it just does not work.
Especially not now.
My brain is not online.
I have to eat a whole banana before I even sit up out of bed. So
I like it.
And so we usually read that hour before bedtime. That's just kind of what we found works. And then we'll put the kids to bed, put Brooke to bed.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some downtime by myself. Sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll watch TV, etc. So that's Monday, and Wednesday looks pretty similar to that. Tuesday is a work in progress. That was our day in the rhythm that had a lot of issues, but for the last 3 weeks, we've been doing really well. In the morning, Brooke takes the girls to the pool at the rec center. We got a membership for the month, basically for Tuesdays and Thursdays, because they were kind of unknown.
They needed to get their, the kids, needed to get their energy out.
Yeah.
And it's still too cold to do anything.
And so June doesn't have school on Tuesday, Thursday. She goes to kindergarten 3 days a week. So Brooke goes to the pool. I work alone. This is when I write podcast notes. This is when I write 5-minute episodes. This is when I try to do some like work just by myself in an empty house, post stories, et cetera, et cetera. When they usually get back, I play with them while Brooke gets lunch ready. And then in the afternoon, it's kind of like an open segment of time. Like sometimes Brooke will work, sometimes I will work, sometimes we'll just hang out as a family. It kind of depends on what's going on. And then I usually on Tuesdays, I try to work out between 3 and 4 o'clock, like before dinner, while the kids are just doing something, normal bedtime routine, finish off Tuesday. Wednesday is the same for Monday, except we record the podcast. And then after we record the podcast, we go eat burgers at Five Guys. Brooke's favorite part of the week.
How much time until we get there?
We're getting there, babe. And then a special part of Wednesday night is after dinner, we do YouTube night, which means we bring up the TV again. It's set apart. We make the mega couch, and we usually try to watch something educational, something inspirational. We have a subscription to Yippee TV, so we can do faith-based programming. Usually it's Mark Rober videos right now. And it's just kind of a fun night. And June will ask, is it YouTube night? And then bedtime, bath
Because
time.
we don't, like our kids don't watch YouTube.
Right.
So like June only even kind of knows what YouTube is.
Yeah.
Which is cute that she asks if it's YouTube night.
And then Thursday morning, and I know I'm spending a lot of time going through this, but like people ask what it was like. So
I know,
hope,
and I hope that this shows you like, oh, that's just normal life that you've kind of put into place intentionally.
Yeah. And we've named it.
I can do that.
Yeah. So Thursday morning is family time. And then again, this is super affected by the weather. So lately it's been a trip to the rec center to go swimming.
Yep.
When it gets warmer, we'll do lots more fun stuff.
Lots of things outside.
And then lunch, and then in the evening, and then afternoon, one of us will work, kind of depending on the workload, what needs to go on, or the barf load.
Who's
Thursday evenings, I play soccer with the Swamp Dragons. So I'm not a part of dinner time on Thursday nights. That will change to Tuesdays when the weather gets warm. So those will kind of flip-flop or switch-swap, as June would say. So Thursday night dinner is usually like leftovers for Brooke or Chick-fil-A run or something to breakfast, like something that just makes it a little bit easier. When it is warmer, the kids will come to soccer with me. Like we'll do it as a family. And there's usually kids that play there while we play. And then bedtime, bath time, normal routine. Friday, June goes to school, but Sunny doesn't go to Brooke's parents. So we drop June off at school, and then we do what we call super tidy, because we just hired a cleaning lady, which was an amazing decision. Her name is Miss Dodo. Sunny asks every day if Miss Dodo is coming over. So we super tidy our house so that Dodo can come in and clean. While she cleans, I again get solo work time, kind of like dot my I's, cross my T's, dot my I's type of work, like finish anything before I enter my day of rest. And that's what Sabbath does. When you take a Sabbath, it changes the day before and it changes the day after. Yeah. And then after it changes those 2 days, it changes the next 2 days, et cetera, et cetera. And so when Brooke has her Sunny time, I usually get some work done, kind of just finish off things that need to be done before the weekend. And then I usually try to work out again at that 3-4 o'clock range while we get ready for family dinner. And then family dinner comes and we start it all over again. So
it's like the looping line.
Yes. So there is our rhythm. I tried to put as much in it as I could to answer the question specifically about it. Thank you for coming along that ride. But I hope that helps. Like, we do live a normal life. We don't have this, like, I don't know. I think sometimes people picture it as like, oh, well, you're self-employed, so you have like all this time on your hands, so it's easy for you. And maybe part of that's true. But we're also self-employed, so we have to figure out a time when we can really buckle down and work while raising kids, while trying to build this family team, etc. And so that is our family rhythm. I hope that helped. And now we're going to get into your questions. And Brooke just dropped her mint on the floor. It's fine. This room is relatively clean. And so we're going to try to answer your questions. And I like this disclaimer about answering questions. I don't know your full situation. So you ask a question, I'm going to answer it as honestly as I can, sometimes with a hammer, sometimes it's going to be blunt. And I think there's something intuitive in us when someone answers a question that we've asked that, like, we immediately go on the defense. Like, I have no stake in the game of your life. Like, honestly. So I'm just going to be as honest as I can. I would encourage you to not try to be defensive immediately, to just maybe listen to what I've said, because I get that way too. Like, I'm in these integrated masterminds. We come with a problem. Guys dump on answers, solutions for that problem. And the instinctive side of you is like, well, I've tried that, or I've done that, or I can't do that, or like whatever. And so maybe just try not to do that. Maybe just listen without being defensive. Like, I know that is hard, because that is super hard for me, but I think you can learn a lot and have a lot of growth from that. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. 42 minutes in. Let's get to some questions. Okay. I've been talking so much. I just need a little drink. Yeah. So
sure. Yeah. Question number 1, meaning this was like the top question.
These 3 were the top 3 questions asked in some form or another.
The top question was, where do you start?
Where do you start? Great question. The answer is super easy. Start with Sabbath. Start with a day of rest.
Find your day.
Find your day of rest. If it's Saturday, that's awesome. If it's Sunday, that's great. Yeah. And start it with some sort of anchor ritual dinner, like 100%. Because while our rhythm changes, while Tuesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Sundays change, Friday and Saturday remain. And that is an anchor for our souls. That is an anchor for our kids to understand that, like, this is a gift. And we're going to accept that gift. So start with Sabbath, and Sabbath will change everything, because instinctively, and this is what happened with us, we started with Sabbath. We realized very early that we do not feel restful if our house is not clean. So Friday became a cleaning day, which now has evolved to Friday morning is a super tidy, and now someone else cleans, which is amazing. Yeah. And it's worth the sacrifice in the budget to put money that way. Yeah. And so, like, Friday changed almost immediately as we established Saturday as a day of rest. Yeah. And so,
and then it meant if at the time I was cleaning all day Friday, you were then having the one-on-one solo time with Sunny. Right. Or we were like, oh, well, I'm not working Friday. Yeah. So then I definitely need Thursday afternoon. Right. So that's when I wrap up all my things. Yep. And it just like, it started to trickle in both directions.
Yes. And it's amazing. So start with Sabbath, pick a day. I would encourage you, I know that, and again, we'll get into this question too, which I think is the next question. How to do it if my work schedule changes, if if my spouse works different shifts than me, et cetera. It was just basically like, how do I do it if I can't pick one day? Yeah. And so first I'm going to challenge you. You might need to find a new job. Like you might need to ask your boss off for the same day every week. Like this is a gift from God. He should trump maybe employment. I don't know. Again, that's a super blunt answer, but like we only get one life on earth.
Yeah.
We should try to thrive in the way that God created us to live that life.
Yeah.
And so that might sound blunt.
I was encouraged to see some people, I don't know if it was in the comments or if they were just responding to messages, and maybe that's where I read them, saying that like, I did that 2 years ago. I asked my employer for a consistent schedule or something that rotated like every 2 weeks, but was consistent in that sake. Yeah. And like they said yes.
Yeah. And you just never know.
It was life-changing.
And exactly. And so I think a lot of times we talk ourselves out of this because like they might say no. And I always tell Brooke, there's no harm in asking.
Yeah.
And because of that mentality, Chris Pratt has t-shirts. Like, I mean, that seems like a crazy example, but it is crazy. There's literally no harm in asking. And then I would just encourage you to like try to find a job where it does work, like where you can get rest. And maybe that's not this year or next year, but like work towards that because of the value that it will add to your life. Same thing with the spouse thing. Like if your spouse can't have the same days off, like try to work towards that. Try to work towards finding that day that it can come together because it is important and it matters and it will make a huge difference in your marriage and your relationship, your faith, etc. And so like there's no easy answer for that. Because it's not an easy problem to solve. But I would encourage you that it's worth solving. And so talk to your employer, talk to your boss, find a new job. And those things sound extreme. And I'm not saying do that right now, do that in this moment, call your boss and quit. I'm not saying that. If the Lord is telling you to do that, then do it. But I think working towards it is super valuable and super important. So that was like kind of the second question. And then the third question was, which is so cool to me. It was like, how do I do this if I'm single? How do I do this if I'm a college student? How do I do this if I don't have a family? And honestly, you have the most freedom out of any of the groups of people to do it. Like,
yes, you do.
Yes.
Hear that.
Yes. There was one question which I LOL'd at. It was like, I'm a super busy college student. How do I do this? And I was just like, oh, dear young college TJ, who used to say that as well. You are so dumb and naive. You have more free time in college than you ever will at any other point in your life.
Yeah.
Hands down, 100%. Yep. And you might want to argue with me on that, but there are so many people who are listening to this who went to college and are now not in college, and they're like saying, amen, hallelujah. Why didn't I realize that then? Yeah. So you have more time than you think you do in college, way more time. Yes. And I worked two jobs in college. I had full class schedule, and I still had more time than I do now.
Yeah. There are so many things in college that are optional.
Yeah.
That you don't think are
right.
Well, I have to do this, and then I need this for that, and then I got to be in this group, and then blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but call it what it is.
Yeah.
It is optional.
Yep.
There are things when you get older that are not optional.
Our kids need to be fed, not optional.
It's exhausting.
And so again, Sabbath is a gift. To unwrap that gift, we need to make sacrifices. And so some things need to be sacrificed, and that might be an extracurricular, that might be something else. But if you're single and you want a Sabbath, I think it's going to look different for you. I think it might be more social. I think it might be more intentionally social.
It could be on a Sunday.
Yeah, it could be on a Sunday. I think it could look a lot of different ways for single people, because you're not necessarily building that family team, but you are engaged with your community. So I know some people have roommates. So maybe it's something that you guys do as roommates together that's restful and peaceful and relaxing. Maybe it's a movie night. Maybe it's a nice family dinner, a roommate family dinner type thing. And then you enter into a day of rest. I mean,
I think not being on devices
huge
is huge for anyone,
especially
anytime, any age.
Yeah. So make it a day that you turn off your phone, or you don't check social media, or you just don't do what you do every other day.
It instantly makes the day different if you're not on the phone.
100%. Maybe it's a day you don't text or you don't Snapchat or whatever. Whatever the cool kids are doing that day, you don't do it. You set it aside.
They're going to lose their Snapchat streak.
It's fine. It's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice. So those were the kind of the top three questions. And again, like I will say this over and over and over again, is like there will be a point where something has to sacrifice. But it is worth that sacrifice because God is the giver of good gifts, and this gift is worth unwrapping. And so now we're going to go into like more specific questions. Some of these are sort of repeats, but we're just going to just hammer through them. I don't know. Yeah. I'm talking a lot.
I know.
Wow,
I appreciate it.
Okay, so how do you communicate rest with your toddlers and little kids?
I mean, I think you tell them.
Right.
You can literally, I mean,
on Friday night dinner, we
they
say,
can't hear you.
Yeah, we sometimes go through this like PDF that we have that's like, why do we rest? Because it's a gift. And then we read a verse and so like, again, I think we put too much pressure on our kids to like fully grasp the concepts that we're trying to instill in them.
Right.
Because they are actually going to grasp these concepts if we instill them in them regularly as they grow up. I got a question the other day on Instagram. It was like, how do I instill a spirit of generosity in my 5-year-old? I'm like, well, kids love their toys. You're not going to give them away. Like that is super hard. You're not going to make that happen. And I told this person, and this is sort of my answer to this, is like
that they're watching you.
They're watching me. I watched my parents live a life of generosity my whole like all through childhood. My family was not wealthy. But they were super generous even through like, and I watched that happen. And then there was a moment where it clicked and I was like, generosity is a really good attribute to have. I've seen it in play. I've seen the fruits of that spirit. And now I can step into it confidently, knowing that like I've seen it displayed very, very well in my life. And so like, if you display rest, if you display that you don't have this frantic spirit and pace of life constantly, your kids are going to learn that.
They're going to know.
Like frantic parents produce frantic kids. Relaxed parents produce relaxed kids. Mm-hmm. Restful parents will produce kids that know how to rest. And so like, know that like they might not understand it and that's okay, but they are watching it and they are learning. And that's how like 90% of kids learn things is by watching it, not by.
100% of kids learn things that way. Yeah.
How does this look for someone who has next question. How does this look for someone who has a 9-to-5 job and wants to be social on the weekends? I don't think that Sabbath and rest and being social are mutually exclusive. Right. Like there are lots of Sabbaths where we end up at my sister's pool with her family and like that is super restful. Like don't feel like you hermitize yourself.
Right.
That's a cool word that I just made up. And you have to like lock yourself in a room just reading the Bible.
To lay down on a couch and do nothing.
No, I don't think it's that. I think so being social and being part of your community, for us, our community is our family. Yeah. And so like, that's what matters. Like that's what matters for our Sabbath. I think is important. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. One piece of advice that I got from one of the guys in integrated was like, go to birthday parties. He's like, it'll throw off your whole Sabbath, because you have to get your kids ready, but just go to them because they're important and they matter to the people in your lives. And so like this Saturday, we have a birthday party to go to. We're looking forward to it. It might not feel as restful to do that, but like it's important and it matters. So like they're not mutually exclusive. And sometimes you should just go to birthday parties. What is number 2, or next question? What is a rhythm that you are still struggling with, babe? For me, it's like reading still, like finding a time. Like I feel like the evening time is really working for me, but that there are times where I'm like, it's the end of the day. I don't want to read. Yeah. Exercise. I feel like I've kind of stepped into that a little bit better. We are in that phase of like, it's going from cold to warm. And so like, we feel like we're on the precipice of the opportunity opening up. And so like there's that sort of like senioritis feeling of like, we just want it here so we can experience it. And so like that is the struggle of the rhythm right now, not finding things to do it, with it specifically with the kids that aren't in front of a screen, but can be inside.
Yeah.
COVID weirdness. Like there's just lots going on. So that would probably be mine.
Mine would probably be, it's not really a rhythm thing. I struggle to have hobbies that are not work.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't really watch movies. I don't really watch TV. I don't really do that kind of stuff. And at a point, I'm like, okay, I mean, I already read a decent amount. So I'm kind of over that. So like, I actually struggle to find hobbies.
All right.
I know where they would go in the rhythm. I just need to like
pick one.
Commit to one.
Yeah. I don't struggle finding hobbies. I've tried everything once. Okay. How do you, this is the question that made me LOL. How do you Sabbath and rest as a very busy college student? LOL. Again, I don't mean to downplay what you do at college, but
Right.
again, talk to anybody who went to college and who's now out, maybe with a family or a full-time job. They will probably reiterate what I'm saying, that like actually in college, you have the most free time that you will ever have. And so you have the opportunity. And so I would just kind of challenge you that like, you might need to sacrifice something to honor what God has called you to, which is a day of rest.
Yeah.
This one, Brooke's going to be embarrassed by my answer to this next one. How to start implementing your husband when he's not on board. Do something that he loves every Sabbath. Like,
yeah. Eventually that seems selfish. But
you know, like, again, like it should be a day where rest and you find joy in life and in the peaceful things of life.
Yeah.
And so like, I think
I instantly have questions like, not on board. Why? Because he thinks he's supposed to not do anything all day,
Yeah.
or like, because like from a faith perspective, he's not on board. Like there is a lot there that I'm like, wait.
But like we hype family dinner with ice cream, you know, and so the kids are on board. Like it was something that simple. And so like, what does your husband love to do that's restful? Allow him to do it that day with no expectations, with no nagging, with no, you know, like time constraint, maybe. Like, I don't know, like there are ways to encourage people to be on board. And sometimes we need to sacrifice a little bit to get them on board. And so like, I would just encourage you to like find something that he loves to do and like make that part of Sabbath. Like, I don't think that's wrong. The next one is, how do you adjust your rhythm? Weekly, seasonally. Again, this more so seasonally. We fill out the family plan calendar every week. We cross off things in red that we didn't get done. And so like, if those things are getting crossed off week in and week out, there's definitely something that's not working there. And so that's when, during the next week, when I fill it out, usually Brooke's within earshot while I fill it out. We kind of talk about that. Like maybe it's time to remove that or change it, or does it need a new place? So we do adjust it weekly, but those are really minor adjustments. And then as we enter new seasons, which we're about to, like June's about to be done with school. Like that's coming up pretty soon. So that'll be a big adjustment. The warm weather is sort of an adjustment that changes it. Like the sun setting later is an adjustment that changes it. Like we usually do more during the day now, as it gets warmer. And so like, you kind of learn that as you go. There's definitely adjustments made specific weeks. Like if we have a collection, like maybe April 9th at 9 p.m. when a collection launches, that week kind of goes totally out of the rhythm. Like, and we just know that, and we call that what it is. And we're just like, this is not going to be normal. And so we just kind of push through that week to make it happen, because it's important and we need to make a living. But we do adjust it. Minor adjustments, probably weekly, more major adjustments, probably seasonally. Do you still do housework and chores on Saturday? I don't normally. Again, that sort of has shifted to Friday, and then to Sunday.
But like, you rake the yard.
I rake the yard. I did that because I thought it would be relaxing. I wasn't like, oh, I need to rake the yard today. Like,
exactly. And that's the difference. That's where the mindset, like knowing why you're doing something, that it wasn't this like, hey babe, do you think maybe you could rake the yard today? And then you were like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I have to.
Right. And it was like, that was a super nice day, and I just wanted to be outside, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And so, so we don't. Like, the big answer is we don't. We clean up after dinner, and we clean up after meals, but we don't like clean the house. We tend to
again, that's now because it's already been done.
Right. Yeah.
I did feel tempted to do that, and I was like, well.
And that's when we learned early on that
if I'm quote not doing anything right now, like, I guess maybe I should clean the floor. And then it was like, no, I don't really want to do that today. So we just had to back it up.
Do you turn your phones back on when your kids go to bed on Saturday? We actually don't turn them off anymore. I like listening to music too much during Sabbath that I keep it on. We will check social media then, usually on Saturday nights when our kids go back to bed. I used to be a bigger news junkie than I am now. So Sabbath was a day off for the news, but I've kind of been on a long, I'm off the sauce, for quite a few months now. So that's not as big of a deal for me, but yeah, like checking social is basically the big thing that we give up on Sabbath that we don't do. And on Saturday, we kind of come back to it sometimes. Again, it's not like, 6 p.m., let me see what's going on Instagram. I don't feel that kind of urge. And I think the practice of Sabbath has helped that.
Yeah.
This was another big question. Do you say no to outside of the family commitments on Sabbath? It depends. It honestly depends on what the ask is. But we try to protect the day as best we can. Something that we'll do, like if there's like a family party on a Friday night, we'll usually have our dinner with us and then we'll go. Like, again, I don't think that a day of rest and social, being social are mutually exclusive. I do think we do say no to quite a few things. We definitely don't plan things because of it. And we do protect the day as much as we can. But we definitely don't say no all the time.
Although we don't have a lot of friends. Do you feel like we get asked a lot of places?
No, I don't.
Especially not right now.
Yeah. And then do you have an exercise rhythm? Yeah, I kind of explained that as I went. Mondays and Wednesdays is usually in the morning. Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays it's in the afternoon. What if your Sabbath doesn't feel like a Sabbath? Do you move it? Again, it's not really a feeling that we're looking for. It's more of a mindset. It's more of a heart posture. So yeah, there are times where the kids are not agreeable. And so it doesn't feel super restful because they were fighting or they were arguing with each other or they were just super whiny or whatever. But again, it's just sort of the practice of it, the rhythm of it, the getting in the boat side of it. That's just like, we're going to believe that like you called us to a day of rest and we're going to honor that. We're going to put our tools down. We're going to be obedient to that because we trust in you, God the Father, to sustain us. And we can take one day off and you will continue to sustain us. And so there are definitely days that it doesn't feel like it, but we don't move it because of that. Occasionally we have moved it because there's something big happening in the family or big event that we have to go to that we can't say no to. So we'll move it from a Saturday to a Sunday. And we'll do our Friday night dinner on Saturday night. Again, that's pretty rare, but we have done that in the past. And then there are days where we're on vacation or we're traveling or Brooke's out of the house and like we skip it. Like, we try to do parts of it, but like the family's not together or whatever. Like, and so we don't do the dinner or whatever. So again, it's not this like orthodoxy, legalistic thing that we do, but it's added so much value to our hearts and our souls that we protect it. Things that have value, you protect. If exercise has value in your life, you protect that exercise time and you make sacrifices to go to the gym in the morning or go gym at night or go to a certain class. Like you protect that time. If your money has value in your life, which it probably does, you protect that money and you make smart decisions. And so rest has value in your life, whether you've unwrapped that gift or not, but we have, and so we protect it. And so like our family now knows like, hey, I know you got your family dinner on Friday. We were going to have a small birthday party for, insert cousin's name on Friday night. Do you guys think you can come afterwards? Like they even approach the questions with that sort of understanding of what we've established as important in our family. And so yeah, I think once the day adds value, you'll start to protect it.
Yeah.
And then where does meal planning go? Again, that's sort of in that Sunday kind of range. And again, like we're normal people who forget things at the grocery store all the time. So like we'll go to the grocery store more than one time a week sometimes. It seems silly to rest when I don't have kids. Thoughts on that? I actually, you look at culture and we live in a very unrested culture. Yeah. Anxiety is through the roof. Depression is through the roof. Addiction is through the roof, whether that's opioid or technology. And so like rest is more needed than ever across the board.
Yeah.
Not just for people who have young kids who are, tiring.
Yeah.
I actually think kids are easy, but I mean, they are and they aren't. But like, I actually wish I had this rhythm in place as a high school student and a college student who like didn't understand his emotions and didn't have any emotional intelligence, because I think this would have led to that. I think time away from the static of life, the noise, the chaos, would have opened my heart and my soul to the Lord, for him to speak to me. And so the gift is for you to honor God. It's not for you because you have kids.
It's not situational.
It's not for you because you have a stressful job. It's not for you. It's a gift for you to honor the Lord and what he's called you to. And so like, whether you have kids or don't have kids or have a easy life or a super hard life, have a full schedule or not full schedule, like it's a gift. Unwrap it and watch God use it to do something glorious in your life, in your heart and your soul. And then the last question was Sabbath with little kids. I'm a mom of little ones trying to navigate what Sabbath looks like for my family. What do you say are your top 3 ways to prepare the day or 2 before your day of Sabbath? Like successful, like how do you be successful? There's a lot of ways to do that. Guy in my integrated group, he schedules it. So like he doesn't schedule it, but he has like blocks of time. So like in the morning, it's like quiet time or like TV time. And then in the afternoon, it's like, we're going to play outside time. And then and he does this sort of like schedule blocking technique. And that's worked really well. Do some blocks bleed into the others? He says, absolutely. Do sometimes the blocks get changed around? Absolutely. But like the rhythm of doing that way for him has worked really well. For us, we don't do it. We kind of have those, but we don't necessarily name them. But for us, it's, kind of chill playtime in the morning, kind of whatever. We kind of let the kids kind of run the show in the morning a little bit. Like we drink our coffee, but if they want to build a fort, we build a fort. If they want to play, with the magnet tiles, we do that. Like, so, but I would just say like, don't expect the Jesus light to shine through in the Bible to be blown open to the perfect page and everything to be still and serene on that day with kids, because kids are kids. So another guy in the group, he says a third location is super helpful. So a second location. So they do something as a family. They'll go to a trampoline park. They'll go to a regular park. They'll go swimming. Like they'll leave the household and go do something as a family to like kind of bring the team together and find rest that way. And we've done that as well. Like we do that a lot in the summer with my sister's pool. So I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I think it is a matter of tinkering those ways out and finding what really works and what really makes your family thrive. Those are most of the questions. There were more, but I was just like, I don't think we'll have time to get to all of them. Again, I know that's like a lot of information. And if I heard someone kind of give this podcast, I would be like, I don't know any of this, or I feel overwhelmed, or I want to defend this reason because I have this job. And like, I totally understand all of that. I'm not expecting you guys to jump in and have the rhythm that Brooke and I have. Like that would be crazy. You are not Brooke and I. You don't have our jobs. You don't have our kids. You don't have our lifestyle. Like you don't live in the same area that we do. But I would encourage you to start with a Sabbath, start with a day of rest. It is a gift. It is a gift given to you by God, your creator. And so there is value in it, and he will use it to change you. And we want to be refined. We want to continue to be refined into more of a likeness of who Christ is, and we want to have that happen in our lives. And so for me, I want to use every tool at my disposal to make that happen. I don't want to live 50 years and think, oh man, I should have rested more with my family, or I should have taken a day set aside, set apart like God intended it, like God created it. I don't want to look at my life and think those things. And so we only get one of them. And that's really an incredible statement and sort of an overwhelming.
It feels cheesy.
But it's just true. And so this has allowed us to unwrap and unlock more heart and soul and joy and love in that life already. And we're a year in. And so a year from now, think of where you might be if you just set aside one day. How many weeks are in a year? I always get that wrong.
52.
52 days over the next year to rest and to seek the Lord with your heart, what that would make you in 1 year. And then once you start compounding that into 2 years and 3 years and 4 years, and once you start to have kids kind of engage in that, like it's just overwhelming. Yeah. Like the dominoes that will fall is really quite incredible. And so I would just encourage you that whether you're overwhelmed or whether you think it's impossible, like just try it. There's no harm in trying, and there's no harm in me asking you to try it, like me encouraging you to try it, because it will, I'm in a group. Think about this. I'm in a group of dudes who bond over this.
Yeah.
Not sports, not cars or technology. We are bonding over living rhythmically because it's changed our lives. And these are guys who work in all industries. These are guys who have all kinds of hobbies. These are guys who have all kinds of family sizes, and so like that is incredible to me. And so there's obviously something very much at the heart of that is instilled in us that we desire and long for. So encouragement to you to just give it a try. And again, we are never going to stop talking about this. So this is probably, Sabbath Q&A episode 1 of 100. I don't know how long this podcast will last. Well, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And so just encouragement to you to just give it a try. And is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not talking.
No, that's okay. So thank you for making us a part of your week. Thank you for allowing us to celebrate Brooke being pregnant with you. That really feels, again, this is the first time we've been pregnant with the podcast audience. So it just feels different. It has like a different flavor to me that like, we know that you guys are extra special in our lives with the way that you follow and engage with us. Like, I really mean that. Whether we have a name for you or not, Swampies. So thank you for celebrating that. Again, we'll share it on the actual internet, Instagram sometime this week. So until then, maybe don't post about it, and that would be helpful, but we're really, really excited. Like I guess in the YouTube comments, you can go nuts.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's great. Instagram message us, whatever. But again, encouragement to take that day of rest and step into what God has given you, because it's awesome. So
it is.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think
you did a great job.
I think it's time for burgers.
Yes.
Brooks.
I'm shutting down.
Shutting down. Very much so. Okay. I love you. Bye.